In fact, tonight, at least 13 high-ranking scientists and researchers have either died or have gone missing entirely. All of them tied to nuclear, defense, or space technology. Some of them even warned the public before their alleged suicides that they were not suicidal.
People love to say that's just a conspiracy. But history has already shown us one thing. The government doesn't tell you everything. So when stories start circulating about scientists going missing or dying under strange circumstances, brushing it off completely isn't thinking critically. It's being comfortable with not asking questions. There's this idea floating around about a group often called the 13 missing scientists. Depending on where you look, the details change. Different names, different timelines, different stories. That alone should raise eyebrows. Not because it proves the theory is true, but because it shows how messy and controlled information can become once it hits the public. The pattern gets harder to ignore the deeper you look. Different countries, different fields, different lives, but the same quiet endings, stamped with the same official explanations that never quite add up. Files sealed, investigations rushed, families left with more questions than answers. It's like someone is sweeping the board clean, piece by piece, making sure anything dangerous, anything too revealing, never sees the light of day. And the craziest part? Most people scroll past it like it's just another headline, another coincidence, another tragedy that doesn't connect. But what if it does connect? What if those last messages, those warnings they posted, weren't paranoia, but clarity? People at the edge of discovery realizing too late that knowledge comes with a price. You don't spend years unlocking secrets about energy, defense, or technology without brushing up against something bigger than yourself, something protected. And when you get too close, when you stop being useful and start being a risk, that's when the narrative shifts. Suddenly you're unstable, reckless, a victim of your own mind. Case closed. Just before she vanished, Amy Eskridge started speaking out, openly, urgently. She described unfamiliar cars sitting outside her home for hours, their windows tinted so dark you couldn't see who was inside. Not just passing by, not just coincidence. Watching. Waiting. According to her, it wasn't paranoia, it was persistent, deliberate, and impossible to ignore.
I found out that I was being physically surveilled by the following method. My ex-boyfriend and I realized that people had been breaking into our apartment while we were gone together in the same vehicle. And so, like, I'm in the apartment, I'm about to go to work, and I'm like, why don't you take out the trash and scope out the parking lot and make sure it's okay before I go to work? So he goes out there and he's like, there's this weird fucking Lexus. It's like a silver Lexus. This is a shitty apartment. Like, why is there really nice Lexus in the parking lot? And it has tinted windows that are not street legal. Like, just totally dark, totally black tinted windows that are not possibly street legal. And so he comes back in and we're standing in our bedroom window looking at the Lexus and talking about it. And I say out loud, maybe we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate. Because the Lexus is across the parking lot from us, but it's backed in so you can't see the license plate. Within 2 minutes of me saying, hey, we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate, we were still standing there at the window looking at it, talking about it. And an Eastern European looking motherfucker with a black beanie, dressed all in black, in his 50s or 60s, walked out of the apartment directly across from ours holding a license plate. And he opened the trunk of the Lexus and he took out some tools and he changed the license plate right in front of our fucking faces.
And what makes it hit harder is the timing. People don't usually go public with claims like that unless something feels real enough to risk sounding unbelievable. She didn't just hint at it. She said it plainly, like someone who knew the situation was escalating. like someone trying to leave a trace behind in case she suddenly couldn't speak for herself anymore.
I started it as a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology through, because I told Mark this. If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off.
David Wilcock, another instance where a UFO researcher also spoke out before his disappearance with statements like, "Every day on search is a gift and a blessing," foreshadowing that his mental was great and suicidal thoughts never occurred. In the video, David Wilcock comes across as calm, reflective, and fully aware of the weight behind his words. He speaks with a kind of grounded clarity, emphasizing that each day he wakes up is a gift and a blessing. It doesn't sound like someone in distress. It sounds like someone who values life, someone who's present and mentally steady. There's no hint of instability, no cracks, suggesting he was struggling internally in a way that would point toward self-harm.
Every day that I have on Earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that, because frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up even though it was last minute and I've had a really rough week. Like, you know, that's kind of like every week, but...
What stands out most is the tone, measured, intentional, almost like he knows people will look back at what he's saying. When someone frames their life that way, appreciating each day and speaking with purpose, it directly contradicts the narrative that they were battling unseen darkness. Instead, it paints the picture of someone mentally aware, composed, and far from suicidal. That's where the unease sets in. When statements like that exist on record, it makes any sudden disappearance or tragic conclusion feel harder to accept at face value. It raises questions, because the words he left behind don't match the kind of ending people are told to believe.
And in the end, that's where everything gets uncomfortable. Not in what we can prove, but in what we can't fully disprove either. Because secrecy does exist, and history shows that clearly. Between those two realities, truth doesn't always arrive with clarity. It usually arrives fragmented, delayed, or buried under years of noise. And by the time it surfaces, most people have already chosen what they believe. So the question isn't simply, what are they hiding? It becomes something more unsettling. How much of what we think we know is shaped by incomplete information, amplified fear, and the need to believe there's always a hidden hand behind the curtain. Because sometimes the most powerful secret isn't what's being concealed from us, but how easily we can convince ourselves we've already uncovered it. And maybe that's the part people struggle with the most. The idea that some doors once opened don't come with clear answers on the other side. But the deeper you go into stories like these, the harder it becomes to separate fact from interpretation. Missing details get filled in with assumptions. Unclear circumstances get shaped into patterns. And over time, uncertainty turns into certainty, even when the evidence doesn't fully support it. That's how narratives grow, not always from proof, but from the human need to make sense of things that feel incomplete or unresolved. So what remains isn't a clean answer, but a lingering tension, a reminder that information is power, and access to it has never been evenly shared. Whether the truth is simply complicated, deliberately hidden, or somewhere in between, one thing stays constant. Once you start looking too deeply, you may never feel fully confident in what you're being told again. And sometimes the most unsettling part isn't what you discover. It's realizing you may never know the full story at all.